I'm Johnny with Marin Bikes. And I got John here today, and we're going to just talk about some bike stuff. Maybe you've had your bike for a little bit, and you're running into some shifting issues. Maybe your brakes making some noise. So John, what do you recommend?
It really comes down to what's going on with the bike when it's happening. So you mentioned shifting issues, for example. Bikes will have shifting issues. It's a common occurrence that comes with the territory. Anyways, the thing is what's going to end up happening is that maybe you've had your bike for like 30 days, 60 days. It's still technically new, but now you're noticing that crisp shifting that was happening originally is now not as crisp as you're used to. Yeah, maybe a little slower. It's harder getting up into the lower gears. Maybe it's very clunky getting down into the higher gears. Completely normal. We call it cable stretch. It's basically the cable and housing kind of settling into place over time. And because of that, shifting issues occur. And essentially it's just a matter of becoming familiar and not really freaking out that something is terribly wrong with your bike. Yeah. It's a super easy solution. Yeah, it's normal. Yeah. Completely normal. It happens among a variety of other things. In this case, with shifting issues, it's just a matter of tightening up the cable. If you know how to do that, great. If you don't, take it to the local dealer that you got the bike from. Yeah. That's what I would recommend doing.
Cool. What if you've been riding your bike for now maybe 60, 90 days, and maybe my hands don't feel so good.
Like your hands going numb, things aren't as comfortable as you thought they were.
Right, maybe my body still's not getting comfortable on there.
Yeah, so that's also a common occurrence that happens too, is the fit is one crucial aspect of the bike that maybe you weren't paying attention to when you first got the bike. There's so many different things you can do to swapping to different grips, changing the position of the bars, changing the position of the stem, tilting of the saddle, maybe sliding the saddle back or forward depending on what's going on. If it is something that you're noticing where maybe your neck's hurting or your hands are becoming numb, it's definitely worth visiting your shop to see if they offer a fit for said bike, because honestly, those go a long way. Yeah. You want to be comfortable with what you're doing, especially with however long you're going to be in the saddle. So fit is definitely important. It's also something that can be easily fixed depending on what's going on.
That's great.
Oh yeah.
Switching topics a little bit, do you have any recommendations if my paint gets chipped or my brand new colorway is brand new Marin? What should I do?
Oh man, paint chips. Well, let me just start by saying that paint chips are common.
Okay.
You're riding a bike on the road, you're riding a bike on the trail, it's going to happen. Yeah. It's very normal. Unfortunately, paint chips, obviously they're blemishes, so they don't look good. I would highly recommend becoming familiar with, if you really want to touch up the bike, you can use nail polish to kind of cover it and touch it up. You can also use hobby paint. There's a variety of different colors that you can get that will likely match to a T if you really want to get the frame looking as it was new.
Yeah, cool.
The other thing I would also recommend is using a paint protection film such as ride wrap. Oh, cool. That stuff is great, and it is used primarily to protect the paint from chipping, from common occurrences, and from just riding. Because it does happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea. What about my mountain bike and the suspension system? And it doesn't feel like it was when I first got it. Maybe now we're talking a year later from when I first purchased it. It's still not feeling.
Maybe it's a little too soft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of feel like I'm going to bottom out.
Okay. Yeah, if you're noticing that you're bottoming out with your suspension, it's definitely worth checking to make sure that it's still holding the air pressure. Because that's one thing that happens with newer suspension is that it does take air. And over time, the air it ends up leaving the system.
It goes away.
Yeah, it goes away, it disappears. But it's a matter of seeing where it is now. If you have a shock pump, that's what those are used for, is to take a reading of where the shock is at based upon your body weight. For the front, it's based upon a little chart that you have to basically set to. Yeah. Now, it's just making sure that it's set to the proper weight. For me, I weigh about 150. my rear shock should be at about 155, 160, just to accommodate my body weight, and then some because of my riding gear. If you're noticing like, wow, I'm really bottoming out easy, maybe you go up a little bit. If you're noticing that the ride is a lot firmer, a little bit harsher, then maybe you have too much weight. But just know that a lot of suspension systems do take care. Now, if you're noticing that, for example, your shock is set up properly and it still feels harsh, you want to make sure that it's also open.
Oh yeah. That's the worst.
Yeah. It's one of those things, a lot of people get into a habit of closing off the system when they're climbing and then forgetting to open it back up when it comes to their descent. So make sure you check to ensure that the fork is open and that the rear shock is open, because that will likely solve a lot of issues and a lot of headache.
That's great. Well, there you have it. We touched on a few topics today that you might run into with your Marin bike. As always, give us a shout if you have any more questions, or head to your local dealer.
It's also one of those things to know that it is okay. It happens. It's going to happen. Just don't freak out. Take it to your local dealer. They'll be able to touch on it, get you taken care of, and get you back out on the trail in no time.